Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Stephanie Quinu. Time right now is 2:08 Eastern, 11:08 Pacific, and we do continue to follow some breaking news as we have learned that Hunter Biden does plan to change his not guilty plea to a guilty plea in his federal tax case. And I do want to take you there live right now as you are taking a live look on the left-hand side of your screen of the federal courthouse where Hunter Biden's trial was set to begin today with jury selection. No cameras are allowed inside that federal courthouse, and so this is the exterior shot as we are anticipating that Hunter Biden will change his not guilty plea to a guilty plea in his federal tax case. That is according to his defense attorneys right there. My colleague Mike Page spoke earlier with attorney Jeremy Rosenthal about the very latest developments, and I do want to play that out for you right now.
Back here to Live Now from Fox. So we come to you with breaking news that we are continuing to follow out of Los Angeles. This seems like it was unexpected. It even caught the DOJ off guard right now. But Hunter Biden is set to change his plea to guilty in his tax case. And Fox News continues to report that the DOJ didn't see it coming about his plan to change the deals, his plea here. So let's continue to talk about it right here on Live Now from Fox. Bring in our guest friend here of the program, Jeremy Rosenthal, trial attorney. Thanks so much for being with us on Live Now. And Jeremy, first off, how common or uncommon is this to have a defendant go in and on the day of jury selection say, I'm going guilty?
It's pretty uncommon, and it's very uncommon to do so without a plea bargain. Most times you do get a lot of deals made on the courthouse steps. That happens all the time when the parties are burning the midnight oil. Each side kind of sees sort of the future and likes it or doesn't like it, and they make a deal at the last second. That doesn't sound like what's happening here. What's happening here is Hunter Biden may have always intended to just plead guilty, and what he's doing is throwing himself on the mercy of the court. It's a very, that in itself, Mike, is very unique, and it puts us in a very tricky place. It puts Hunter Biden in a very tricky spot.
Yeah, totally. It really does. And Jeremy, I also want to get your take here. If Hunter Biden is saying, okay, look, I know my father only has several more months in the White House. President Biden said he is not going to pardon his son. But, President Biden said he wasn't going to drop out back in May, and this is where we're at right now. So tell me what is going on for the next steps in this lull that is happening in Los Angeles as they took a break, and right now, what are they discussing?
Well, first thing is that the judge actually has to accept this plea, and the judge is not legally bound to accept Hunter Biden's guilty plea. The default plea in a legal proceeding, in a criminal proceeding, is not guilty. If the judge has questions about, say, the person's competency or the factual basis, or whether or not the plea is what we call voluntary, in those instances, the judge can reject the plea, and the judge can say, I'm going to enter in a default plea of not guilty, bring in the jury. That can happen. I don't know that it will. So the first thing that's going to happen is the judge is going to talk to Hunter Biden directly with counsel there, I'm assuming. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see the judge kind of drill Hunter Biden, make sure that this is exactly what he wants. Make sure that you know that you have the right to a jury trial, that we have a bunch of people here for you. You're the guest of honor today. And it's not a real big deal for us to have a trial for you, to make sure that this is absolutely what Hunter Biden wants. Also, what's a little unique about this is he's doing so without a plea bargain or a plea deal. And what it sounds like is the government has not promised Hunter Biden any type of recommendation for the judge. So basically, Hunter Biden would be throwing himself on the mercy of the judge, who has very, very wide discretion to sentence Hunter Biden in this case. So Hunter Biden is hoping that by doing this, he's going to score points on what are called the federal sentencing guidelines, which are sort of this matrix. He's hoping for a lower sentence by saying, look, I didn't put the government to a jury trial. And he may say, look, I never wanted to. I tried plea bargaining this thing a year ago. You guys wouldn't let me. And now I'm coming here again today. I never intended to evade responsibility here. hoping that that scores him some points. As far as pardons go, much trickier topic.
And what's the timeline look? Okay, so if they do, just say they accept this guilty plea, what does the timeline look like for sentencing as far as when we could possibly see that?
What would typically happen is if the judge accepts the guilty plea, what I think will happen is the judge will set this off for sentencing the same way they have done in the gun trial back in Delaware, which is they're going to complete what's called a pre-sentence report, pre-sentence investigation that will calculate the approximate guidelines that they're going to look at. And then the judge is going to take that into consideration, and then they'll have a separate sentencing date. At this point, in all likelihood, it would probably be after the presidential election. So that is likely what happens. It would be extremely unlikely for the judge to move straight into sentencing. And one other note here, too, that I should also kind of add. Hunter Biden may also be playing for an appeal here because the judge made a very big ruling. Mark Geragos, Hunter Biden's lawyer, made it clear that, look, our strategy is to point to the addiction. The standard in a tax fraud case is willfulness, which is a very high level of intent. And Hunter Biden's legal position is, look, because of my addiction, I did not know that I was defrauding the government. Whether you like it, whether I like it, whether you believe it, whether I believe it, that's his argument. That's what courts are for. But the judge said, we're not going to let you make that argument. And it could be that Hunter Biden and his lawyer said, look, without that argument, we're just going to lose. And instead of doing this, let's just plead guilty, take our medicine. And then what we can do is appeal this case to the Ninth Circuit in California and say, look, we were denied our ability to defend this case. We thought that we should be able to bring up addiction. Once we knew we couldn't bring that up, why even bother? So they may be angling that way. I don't know that that's the case, but that's a possible thought.
You know, that's a really good point, and I'm glad that you brought that up. And lastly, Jeremy, my question to you is, as for a defendant, what does this mean as far as just for the person, for Hunter Biden going in there? Is there any sense of relief that he will get just by putting that guilty plea out there and not having this trial go forward if the judge accepts that? Is that sort of what happens for a defendant, kind of just maybe relaxed a little bit more?
If you have a plea deal, yes, a lot of times. I mean, trial is fun for me. It's no fun for my client. But he has jumped off the edge of the cliff with no bottom in sight. That's kind of what happened here. I think Hunter Biden will feel better about this after he is sentenced, if that sentence is something that he is kind of envisioned in his mind about where he's going to go. The guideline calculations in this case, from what I'm told, are between 15 and 21 months. So, and there's only so angry you can be as the trial judge in this case when Hunter Biden's already paid back all the taxes that he owed. And he's saying, look, I don't want to bring in a jury here. I don't want to waste everybody's time for 2 to 4 weeks. So you would think that he would do a touch better. And you would also make the argument, as Mark Geragos, as Hunter Biden's lawyers, to say, look, taking responsibility is a contract. The contract is we will take responsibility. And on the government side, if their version of responsibility in this case is that Hunter Biden is given, the death sentence, well, that's not fair for a tax evasion case. We're not bound to take whatever the government says. Judge, we think you're more fair than the government's going to be in this case. The government is not living up to that contract of reasonableness when it comes to punishment. That's the argument that I think you can expect. But this is a very stressful position for Hunter Biden and his team to be in, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Jeremy Rosenthal, thanks so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox and breaking down this big switcheroo by Hunter Biden today. We appreciate it.
Thanks.